I'd like to bring to order the October 25th meeting of the Tiverton Town Council. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Might be the night that I break out. No.
It's one.
Roll call, please.
Councilor Perry?
Present.
Councilor Cook? Here. Councilor Janick?
Present.
Councilor Edwards?
Present.
Councilor DeMedeiros?
Present.
Councilor Burk?
Present.
Councilor Vieira?
Here.
All present.
First item is consideration and vote on the following proclamation: Eagle Scout Achievement honoring Ryan Michael Souza. Whereas Ryan Michael Souza of Tiverton, Rhode Island has achieved the rank of Eagle Scout, the highest ranking award of the Boy Scouts of America, and will be recognized at a court of honor on November 21st, 2021. And whereas the vision of the Boy Scouts of America is to prepare every eligible youth in America to become responsible, participating citizens and leaders who are guided by the Scout oath and law. And whereas Ryan is the son of Michael and Jennifer Souza, whereas Michael began his scouting career 10 years ago, is a member of Troop Number 6, and has achieved 29 Eagle Scout merit badges. And whereas Ryan graduated from Tiverton High School and was a member of the cross-country as well as basketball teams. Whereas Ryan was elected Senior Patrol Leader, a position the Boy Scouts of America has long recognized as the highest youth leadership position in a troop. And whereas for his Eagle Community Service project, Ryan worked to identify all veterans buried in the Cassid Hill Cemetery and reconcile the records with the town of Tiverton's database. And whereas achieving the rank of Eagle Scouts is a very personal event in the life of Ryan and in the lives of his family, friends, and is a tremendously important moment, and be it therefore proclaimed that every official and citizen of the town of Tiverton extends to Ryan Michael Souza their most sincere congratulations and continued success in all his future endeavors. Tiverton Town Council, Denise DeMedeiros, President Tiverton Town Council, August 25th, 2021.
Move unanimous consent.
So moved.
All those in favor? Congratulations.
Congratulations, Ryan.
Thank you.
Madam President, as a liaison to the Cemetery Commission, Ryan did an outstanding job recognizing all the veterans in the Cassid Hill Cemetery. He took it upon himself to get his troop together, and they did an outstanding job marking down everything, so now we have some kind of a record to go by. So I want to commend him for what he did, and I've known Ryan since he was like 6 years old playing
He's
basketball.
probably proud of your basketball.
Yes. Great job, Ryan. Thank you.
Congratulations. All right, thank you. Consent agenda. Approval of Town Council minutes, October 12th, 2021, regular session, Councilor DeMedeiros absent, abstained. October 12th, 2021, executive session, Councilor DeMedeiros absent and abstained. Acknowledge receipts of minutes from boards of commissions and committees. R.F. Jones Memorial Dog Park Committee, 4. Recreation and Beach Commission, 4. Acknowledge receipts of reports from Treasurer Charette, Budget and Revenue Reports, September 2021. Acknowledge receipts of correspondence. CRMC Joint Public Notices, Tiverton Yacht Club, Ascent Application and Dredge Permit. CRMC Public Notice, filed 2021-629, Federal Consistency Certification by Revolution Wind LLC for proposed construction and operation of an offshore wind energy project. CRMC amended public notice, proposed adoption of new fresh water wetlands in the vicinity of the coast. Planning Board Chair Gill, Harbor Commission appointment memo, Town Administrator reappointment of Donna DeMedeiros to Building Code Board of Appeals, Town Administrator Casino Gaming Revenue Survey as of 10/18/2021, Town Administrator draft funding proposal and conceptual project expenditure plan, and the school superintendent, and this one I'm confused about, Section capital submission. Approval of tax assessor abatements, $2,592.88. Would anyone like to take anything off the consent agenda?
I would,
Go ahead, Donna.
the regular session, October 12th, the town council meeting.
Okay.
And
Any-
I'd like to do D, 1, 2, and 3.
Anyone else?
Yes, I wanted to do B2.
D2? I think we already pulled that up.
B is in boy.
Oh, B2,
B2.
I'm sorry. Okay, anyone else? So I'd like to
Make
entertain.
a motion to accept the other ones.
Okay, so motion's been made to accept A2, B1, C1, D4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and E. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Donna, I think this is this is yours, A1.
Yes. I'm questioning during the discussion for the change or amending of the contract for Planner Siciliano. I think to put it in context, what I said is not in here. And I think it should be because it just has no context to the proposed.
So where you,
It's on page 3.
I am on page 3.
Under item F.
F. And what I said is that I was concerned it was setting precedents.
does
You're
any,
adding that? You want to add that?
yeah, I wasn't at the meeting, so does anyone recall that and would like to add it?
She did say that.
Okay. All right, so Donna, you would,
That was it.
okay, like to add your quote.
Yeah.
Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
To approve, I guess, Donna, you're going to approve it now? All right. So motion's been made in second to approve A1
To amend it.
As amended.
as amended. All those in favor? All right. B2, Recreation and Beach Commission, Donna?
Okay. Recreation Commission, I just, there's no particular page. I think it's,
But I can use the mic.
Use your microphone.
all right, the August 17th meeting, and it would be under staff reports. And I think it's the third or fourth page in.
Oh, I saw her walking in.
So, we're talking about Fogland, and it's saying here that a resident wants to put up a gate at Fogland and pay for it themselves. And, BS, who's BS? Bob Sodoma.
He's been called worse.
He can't hear.
He suggested that the season open at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., which is, first of all, I don't think there should be a gate. You have a hard enough time sometimes at Grinnell's.
I don't think you can put a gate there.
I'm just saying.
No, all
Yeah.
they're doing, because I was at this meeting, and I don't know if Joe was at this meeting, but all they're doing is recognizing that they had, I don't know if it was correspondence or just verbal conversation with somebody who lives that area who said that to them. That's all that,
Yeah,
it was brought up at the
that's how I'm
meeting, all
taking it.
it's-
I just was like, well, you know, and what does that mean? It's only going to be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. if
So-
they had a gate?
If you,
No.
No.
The gate is separate from the time.
Okay,
but if you open it till 7 p.m., it means that people have to be working till 7 p.m.
Right.
Right.
That was a suggestion they made.
Okay.
this is for working?
Well, they'd have to.
Correct.
Gate attendance from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. was recommended or
Okay.
suggested for next
Okay,
year.
all right.
Right. And no final decisions were made
All
for
right.
recommendation to us.
I don't know what, Did I miss something? Because it wasn't clear to me as to what.
They're
think this is-
they're individual bullet points, that's all.
I
Just-
think this was just discussion items, but there was
Yeah.
no vote
Right.
taken on them. Is that true?
Right.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Welcome. So do I have a motion to accept these minutes, Donna?
Yeah, and I'll make a motion to accept these minutes as written.
Second.
Motion's been made and second to accept Recreation and Beach Commission 4 minutes. Any further discussion? All those in favor? D1 CRMC Joint Public Notice, Tiverton Yacht Club, Ascent Application and Dredge Permit.
I actually, we can put all three of these
Okay.
together, 1, 2, and 3, and it's really a question, because we had the issues with the CRMC, people feeling like there's 3 different,
The
okay.
public doesn't.
The public doesn't.
Yeah, I'd have they put it on the correspondence on here before?
I
Yes.
believe so. I've seen this before.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah.
Like something separate CRMC stuff, and then you just hit it and it comes
We
up?
could ask David if he could put a CRMC notification on our website, and every time we get one, he can put, and he's shaking his head, yes.
Yeah, I think that would be extremely helpful.
And then we just put the notifications we get from town, and we'll just make sure David gets them.
Okay, all right.
Madam President,
Yes.
just to clarify, the current procedure is the town clerk does get copies of this. We print it off and post it on the bulletin board so that it is available to the public, as well as put it as on the town council agenda so that also the council is aware of it and anybody reading the agenda can see that there are changes at CRMC that potentially impact Tiverton.
I also think in addition, we could put it on the website, and maybe we could put
Yeah.
a little bullet,
we
CRMC
need more.
notifications, and every time we get one in, we put it up there.
Yeah,
I just-
Madam-
I
You want
think
it
that
to the
it's-
Harbor Commission or?
No, just as a separate item on our website.
I
Madam
just think
Clerk,
it's hard, go
As
ahead.
town
The only way-
notices or whatever.
Madam Clerk, the only way someone would see it is if they came in here, though, right?
Right.
If we were to put it on the website, at least it would be,
It would be.
people would have access to it.
It would be in clerk base as well, wouldn't it? As one of the documents to the...
Right. Being a part of the town council agenda,
Right,
it's
it
also
would
in
be
clerk
just
base.
that one time, but maybe if we just put it as a bullet on our website, and then people, if they're wondering what's going on with CRMC, can check it weekly or whatever they want to do.
I just think it's hard sometimes to find things on our website.
It is.
I was looking for something this week for someone. I ended up mistakenly getting hooked on an email, and someone was looking for a phone number, and it really was not apparent, and you had to go into like minutes and into different commissions, and
It's not very
it's
intuitive.
not really easy to find. So I think if we can help people, especially now, this is really something that the residents are looking for right now, is the CRMC.
Hopefully, we can fix the
notifications.
website once we get to the American Recovery monies
Yeah.
at some point.
I was just going to say that.
Right.
Madam President?
Yes.
My only comment would be, I totally agree with putting it up there, but as a service to members, because if we happen not to get one up there and somebody doesn't know about it, we're not the responsible agency. It's CRMC that's the responsible agency, so we're providing it as a service to our residents.
Good point.
But I think that if we get this and it's on our agenda, it's very easy that this is a notification that can be put up there. If CRMC is not notifying us, then there's very little we can do. All right,
That's
So
it.
do we need to approve that?
yes, please.
1, 2.
So I'll make a motion that we approve D, 1, 2, and 3.
Second,
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Is there any public comment? Did anybody? Well, Barbara's waving to me. It's Sola?
Yeah.
Come on, Bob.
Okay. I didn't know whether or not you wanted to wait, but,
Sorry.
No, we'll hear you.
okay.
Just, of course, identify yourself,
Yep.
and if you want to sit down, Barbara, that's
Oh,
fine.
yeah, okay.
Some
You know
peop-
what? No,
Okay.
I'm going to stand. Okay. Barbara Martin, Neck Road. When developing a solar ordinance that is in Tiverton's best interest, the town council should look at how other communities are addressing the fundamental issues regarding siting large commercial solar developments. We should be looking towards siting them away from residential areas because they negatively impact the market values of homes located near them. We should be looking towards protecting our precious farmland. Rhode Island has less than 10% total of farmland left. Tiverton has already lost 13 acres of farmland to the solar development on Wingover Farm. We should be looking towards protecting our precious forested spaces. The proposed Brayton Avenue solar development is 51 acres and will cut down 9,000 trees to erect solar panels. A better solution to siting solar developments would be on Tiverton's brownfields, Tiverton's landfill, in the industrial zone, not on residential land, farmland, or forested land. It is critical that Tiverton gets this solar energy ordinance right because we have solar companies ready to file applications once our ordinance is approved. There is a wealth of information available from URI, Grow Smart Rhode Island, RIDEM, Rhode Island Office of Energy Resources, and other Rhode Island communities which can help the town council in crafting a well-thought-out ordinance that is in the best interest of Tiverton and its citizens. There is no need to rush this process. It is imperative to get it right.
Thank you, Barbara. And that's it? Anyone else? No. Historic Preservation Advisory Board, 5 members, 3-year terms, 2 vacancies. Susan Anderson, request reappointment. Susan is here. Want to come talk to us for a minute? For a minute, I thought that wasn't you, the way you just...
It is. I didn't know when you wanted to talk to me.
Well, because we're going to reappoint you, and that's usually what we do.
I'd like to say something.
Go ahead.
Sue, how are you, Sue?
Hi,
Yeah.
Sue. All right.
I am the liaison for this very special committee, and they do a lot of hard work, and I am for the reappointment. She does an excellent job. She also helped me with a home that's 200 years old that's near my daughter's that's people are thinking of getting rid of. It's quite the beautiful home. So I got in touch with Susan, and she pointed me in the right direction to help someone else to try to save that home, but I don't know what's going to happen with it. Anyway, I also want to mention that she just received the 2021 Joan Arnold Award for Civic Participation from the League of Women Voters of Newport County, which is a very distinctive award, and I congratulate you on that. So, that's it.
I was going to ask you why you wanted to be reappointment, but I do know your dedication, and I kind of know why you want to be reappointed. If anyone's worked with Susan, it's exactly what Donna says. Her heart and soul is in this project. Does anyone else have any questions for Susan?
I just think that when I hear historic preservation, I think of Susan, so. For the board.
All right, I'd like to, because there's 2 vacancies and one applicant, I'd like a motion to waive our policy and appoint this evening.
So moved.
Motion's been made by
Councilor Perry.
Councilor Perry, I know, seconded by Councilor Burk. All those in favor? Now I'd like to entertain a motion to appoint Susan.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Motion by me, by Councilor Perry, seconded by, I'm going to give it to Donna.
Okay.
Councilor Cook. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Congratulations, Susan. Thank you. We will.
We do.
Litter Committee, there's 5 members, 4-year terms, there's 3 vacancies. Victoria Weaver is asking for a reappointment to expire 10/15/2025, and Diane Sutherland Sunderland, request reappointment to expire 10/15/2025. Are either one in the audience, and would they like to say something? I'm not going to put you on the, no. Okay, I like, same thing, there's 3 vacancies and only 2 applicants. I like to have a motion to waive our policy.
So moved.
Second?
Motion's been made by Councilor Edwards, seconded by Councilor Vieira. Any further discussion? All those in favor? I like a motion to reappoint both these applicants.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Councilor Edwards, seconded by Councilor Janick. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Library Board of Trustees. Kathy Cleese Clarendon requests a reappointment 10/15/2024, and Carol Herman requests reappointment 10/15/2024. I know I know one is in the audience. Would anyone, Carol, would you like to come up and speak? I hear that you're the chairman now?
Yes.
Chairwoman, and that is come and gone.
Kathy served for the last 3 years while I was vice chair, and as of last month, I was elected to serve as chair.
So why would you like to be reappointed?
Right now, we have 6 trustees who work very well together. They bring a wide variety of both professional and volunteer experience to the board, and I think we're moving in a great direction. We have a very capable director.
Very capable.
And so I enjoy being part of a productive team.
Okay. And Carol, I've seen your work here, and I admire your dedication to the library right from the beginning of building this library, so thank you. Any questions for Carol? Is Kathy here? I don't think so. All right, so same thing, like to waive our policy. Do I have
So moved.
Motion's been made by Councilor Perry, seconded
Second.
by Councilor Janick. All those in favor? I'd like a motion to reappoint Kathy Cleese Clarendon and Carol Herman.
So moved.
Second it.
Motion's been made by Councilor Perry, seconded by Councilor Burk. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for all your work, Carol.
Yeah.
Personnel Board, 5 members for your term, 1 vacancy. James Camara requests reappointment to expire 10/15/2025. I don't see Jim here, but he's been on this board for several years. I've worked with him closely. He is a dedicated member of this board and will do anything he can to move the process forward. I'd like to entertain a motion to waive our policy once again.
So moved.
Second?
Motion's been made by Councilor Burke, second by Councilor Vieira. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous.
That's surprising.
Need to vote.
Now we need to vote.
You need to vote on
Oh, that's right.
Motion to appoint Jim Camara.
I'm just on a roll now.
Second?
We'll get out of here by 8 o'clock if I continue this.
Motion to appoint Jim Camara.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilor Perry, second by Councilor Vieira. All those in favor? It was actually Rick Janick, but that's all right. Juvenile Hearing Board, 5 members, 2 alternates, 3 years term, 2 alternate vacancies, 1 vacancy. Patrick Myers requests reappointment to expire 10/15/2024. Is Patrick here tonight? Any questions regarding this appointment?
See reappointment.
Madam President, there's only 1 opening, is that what you're telling me?
1 opening and 1 applicant. So
Okay.
we are going to waive the policy. Does someone want to give me that motion?
So moved.
Second, yeah.
Motion's been made by Councilor Edwards, second by Councilor Burke. All those in favor? Now a motion to reappoint Patrick.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Unanimous.
Moving right along.
Yep, zoning board of review. 5-member, 2 alternates, 5-year terms, 1 alternate vacancy. So this is the alternate vacancy. We are going to appoint 2. The first one is Joel Bishop, request reappointment, expires 10/15/2022. Is Mr. Bishop in the audience? No. The second is Edward Schober, request appointment to expire 10/15/2022. You can come forward and talk to us for a couple of minutes. Did Joel know we were doing this
He did.
evening? He did, and he chose not to come? Yep. Okay. You can sit down or stand up, it's up to you, whatever
I can
makes you
stand,
more
that's fine.
comfortable. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I have been in the credit card processing business for 26 years, still working for, most of you probably know my company, East Commerce Solutions. We moved here almost 5 years ago. I believe that Tiverton's on the cusp of some great things. I think that because I'm working more part-time now these days, I have the time for 8 years with a little kid in Cranston. And I have a couple of people on the zoning board now that I currently know. One is George, and
And
another.
the other one is Lisi.
And Lisi, right, correct, right. And they suggested that there might be an opening, so
Lisi called and recommended you, by the
Oh,
way.
terrific.
She thinks highly of you.
thank you.
Any questions?
So this is not a reappointment, this is an appointment.
Well,
Right, questioning?
it's a vacancy.
No, I know, I'm just looking at the application
Joe
because it says,
Joe would be a
because
reappointment.
it says reappointment, yes, but it's.
But Joe would be, Mr. Schrober, and I'm never going to say his name right, Schober, would be a new
A new
appointment
appointment.
to the alternate vacancy.
The alternate's a 1-year appointment.
Yes, keep that in mind. So, Mr. Bishop, I think, was aware, because we had this discussion before. We can waive the policy,
Why?
but we can wait and interview Mr. Bishop next week if he chooses to come, but it's up to you.
I make a motion, we waive the policy to be able to appoint tonight.
I have something to say.
I'll second it.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Donna?
This is a little bit different than what was said when he applied to the board, that his people are reappointed because it's a learning experience. He's put 2 years in and he's served in good standing. He hasn't missed any meetings, and I just don't see any reason that he shouldn't be reappointed. It's like you're punishing him or something for some reason. You didn't want him on in the first place, and now this. He hasn't done anything any more than anybody else that's reappointed.
All right, so
And you even want to
I'd like to say something.
move ahead.
Because you've said that I didn't want him to begin with, and that's absolutely true. I didn't feel he was qualified for this position.
Who's
But I
qualified for
have
these
to also
positions?
say that I've gotten several complaints about Mr. Bishop. He's difficult to work with. Many board members feel he's difficult to work with. Mr. Bishop wrote a letter to the newspaper criticizing the board he's on and mentioning what a terrible job they are doing. He has been confrontational at the meetings, and at several occasions, people feel he doesn't do his homework. I will not be voting for Mr. Bishop tonight for all those reasons. When you're on a board, my major complaint is, when you're on a board, you don't go to the newspaper, and we have that article complaining about your board. That is disrespectful. If you have a problem, you talk with your chairman. He is constantly arguing with the chairman and fellow members. So that is why I'm not voting for him tonight. The rest can do whatever they want, but those are my reasons, and I think they're good reasons. I've been accused of having a problem with Mr. Bishop. I don't have a problem with Mr. Bishop. But I do know that his year on the board, I, as the president, have received several complaints from members who don't even want to be on the board with him there.
Matt.
Yes.
Couple things. One is, the motion before us is not a motion to appoint either Mr. Schober or Mr. Bishop. It's simply to waive our policy. So I will
I
get
do agree, but
into...
because Donna brought
No, I
it up.
understand that. I understand that. And Councilor Cook brought up the same issue. The other piece is, 4 of us, at least, 1, 2, 3, 4, were not on this council when Mr. Bishop was appointed or other people were appointed. So while I appreciate that alternate is a learning curve type of position, you also need to be able to show that you can work with that board to be able to continue in that position. It doesn't mean that you hold it ad infinitum. And third, well, I'll hold third till we get to actual appointments.
So I have a motion just to waive. So why don't we vote on that? Is that all right with everyone? And then when we,
Well,
go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say, if there is a problem, if they say they're having a problem, then we should be notified of that.
That's what I
So that
thought.
when we have something like this, we have some information to go by.
Well,
don't have anything.
Chris has been notified.
Well, it should have been passed on to us like other things are.
Well,
And that's,
I believe you got letters because I did.
well, first I'm hearing of it, so,
No, I
I haven't heard either, and I'm the liaison.
right. And that's what I'm saying. I think if there is problems, they should at least notify us so that we have some information when we do meet like this to go by.
He should be able to defend himself, too.
Well, he could have came tonight. He could have definitely have come tonight. He knew about this. A matter of fact, he did not apply for reappointment.
No, we did.
No. Originally, he did not.
No, he did not. Not till last week,
And he
but he
had to
did.
be asked if he wanted it. So he didn't even reapply for it.
Denise, can he sit down?
Yeah,
He kind of feels like he's in the middle of it all. I feel bad for him.
I forgot you were there. I just kind of got caught up.
Don't go far.
All right. Every time, okay, I'm not going to say another
The
thing.
motion is to waive the policy.
Yes, so the motion is to waive the policy. All those in favor?
Now. Against.
Against? Donna, okay. Now, does anyone, I'd like to entertain a motion for appointment.
I move we appoint Edwin K. Schober to the alternate position for the Zoning Board of Review for 1 year to expire 10/15/2022.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made in second. Any further discussion?
Can I just speak to the administrator and corroborate what you have?
Sure, of course.
Because this is kind of the first I'm hearing of this too. I don't disagree that what you have heard is true. I just want
Well,
to
it
get
was in
some,
the newspaper. I don't know if any of you read it, but it was in the newspaper. so
has
it's
there
not-
been difficulties?
Yes, there has. And I will apologize to some extent, but the letter that came from the chair of the zoning board did come to the town council,
Yeah.
but it came to the town council prior to your being on the town council. It came at the middle of last summer. And it was a very well publicized news article that was very critical of the zoning board and their actions by Mr. Bishop. And it was complained by a number of people on the zoning board to the town council at that time. So it is historical, it's prior to you being on the council, four of you, but there was actions that was brought to the town council at that time.
That's how I know about it. And I have Lisi's letter at home if any of you would like to see it.
I think this is a terrible way to conduct this, to do it kind of underhanded. We don't have any information on what's been going on, and to cooperate with Mr. Bishop to see what his complaints are. Has anyone looked into them? And secondly, I just don't think this is any way to do anything. You just waive everything because you can, you got the majority. Don't give anyone a chance to do anything. You bring somebody in here. It's the same, it really is the same all the time.
The only thing I would say in rebut of that is he had the opportunity to be here.
It's the same way, always.
He did have the opportunity to be here tonight.
It's always the same pattern.
Donna, you know what I'd like to say, and I'm going to say it, and this will be it. This is the pot calling the kettle black. I
What are
was
you
on the
talking
town
about?
council when they appointed him, and that's exactly the way that town council operated.
And the thing was,
nobody can
is
say no.
you, and that's at the
Nobody
time
can
you
say
said
no.
that anyone that's for reappointment,
I didn't say it.
well, that, when we tried to get
All right,
someone who was
we're not
better,
gonna do it.
you didn't, you said, we're being reappointed, you should reappoint them because they've been on it for
There's a
2
motion on
years.
the floor. I have a second. Is there any further discussion besides Donna? She just expressed her opinion. Any further discussion? All those in favor? 6 against. 6 to 1. Congratulations. I'm sorry this had to happen this way. I hope you still want to be on this.
It won't be as bad there. But I do want to say something.
No. We'll go around.
Don't even bother.
I just want to clarify.
Don't even bother. It's the same pattern what they do to people.
Is there still one more opening?
No. Jennifer Hilton is the other alternate.
No.
Her term is not up yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Appointment to the Board of Canvassers, Democratic alternate, 6-year term to expire 10/15/2027. Now, the only problem I have with this, well, wait a minute. Am I missing that I did not get a recommendation? Did I? Okay.
It's in the packet, 6B.
Yeah, I saw that, but it doesn't say.
Usually the top one is the,
All right.
that's how I always did it.
All right. So the top one is Andrea Souza, recommended by the Democratic board. The usual way to do this is the president nominates it, there's a second, and then it goes from there. So I'd like to nominate Andrea Souza to
Second.
the Board of Canvassers. And she's the alternate, by the way.
Second?
Motion's been made in second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Against? Acknowledgement of resignation, retirements, Kathleen Skrupiak, Tax Assessor Board of Reviews, and Natalie Cody, Litter Committee. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept these resignations and retirements.
With great regret. So moved.
With regret.
With regret, yes.
I
Second.
know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
Mind reader. Just two things. One, I do want to publicly thank Kathy for her years of service on the Tax Assessment Board of Review. She brought great knowledge, and she was always very thoughtful and deliberate in the hearings, so she will be very much missed. However, that does put me and the Tax Assessment Board of Review in an awkward position. Currently, the board is made up of 3 members. We currently will now just have 1 member. So I cannot hold a Board of Review hearing until we get a volunteer. From what I understand, there's a possible applicant that may be coming before you, but I urge if any of you or any of the residents are aware of someone who may want to volunteer on that Tax Assessment Board of Review, we'd greatly appreciate it.
Because this is a reassessment year, this is really important right now.
Correct. And currently, right now, we have, I believe, 4 hearings that are being requested. We do have 90 days, so we've got some time, but we'd like to try to move on this as quickly as we can.
All right, so if anyone watching this tonight would be interested, this board does not meet often.
They do not, especially in non-revaluation years. The last 2 years, I believe we've had 1 hearing.
So it's something that you can contribute to the town, your volunteerism, and not be doing a meeting every month, so.
Correct. When do you generally have the hearings? Daytime, evening? Does it vary?
It does vary. Historically, we've held them in the evening, starting at 7. But, we can work with the board members to schedule them more during the day, late afternoon if need be.
Okay.
So it's pretty flexible. It's not, because again, like President DeMedeiros had mentioned, they're not every month, so they do vary quite a bit. So we have had meetings from 2 o'clock to 7 o'clock. And generally, the night of the hearings, I only generally schedule 2 or 3 hearings, so they're here maybe an hour.
Thank you.
You just need 1?
To make a quorum, right.
Use 2, at least.
Right.
But we.
It's a 3-member board, so I need 2 to have a meeting.
Okay. That's,
Right.
So Dave, could you give us all a brief idea of what this position really entails?
Sure.
It's not on the agenda, though.
No.
I can't entertain that, I'm sorry.
Can't do that?
Mike's shaking his head to me.
Usually, sorry, it just says resignations and
Yeah.
retirements.
Next time.
You're going in blind.
Thank you.
All right, so I have a motion and a second to acknowledge the resignation retirements
With regret.
with regret, and thank you for their service. All those in favor? Unanimous. Board of Licensing, East Bay Ammunition, LLC, AKA Secana River Outfitters, 777 Main Road, requests approval of indoor shooting range license, subject to meeting all legal requirements. This is a public hearing advertised. Does anyone want to say anything about this before I open the public hearing? Randy has sold the business, and what we're doing is just transferring the license.
And I would say, Madam President, from the years that it's been there, I've not heard any complaints, so I
You're right,
feel that there's no reason to hold this up.
you're right. And those fears there would be, and it's
Yep.
gone very well.
We've never had any complaints from any of the neighbors over the years, so I don't see there's any reason to hold this up.
At this point, I'd like to open it for public comment. Anyone out there would like to comment on this subject? Are they here?
Yes, they are.
Oh, hi. Okay. Would you like to say anything, or I'll just go through with the motion? That's okay with you guys?
They want to say as little as possible.
If I can just ask, though, because in the packet, and you have all of your credentials in here, your certificates, there is one for Randy LeBeau, so is he
That
staying?
insurance, the day we close, is going to turn over to us.
Correct. This is his basic firearm safety course instructor certificate.
What would you like to know about?
So he's going to stay on to do that?
There's, for the Massachusetts
Yeah, it's
licensing,
Massachusetts, yes.
Until I'm
Certified.
ready to do it, he's going to do it for me or
Okay.
for the business, just like he has been.
Okay.
Right.
So that's the only.
So he'd be like an employee doing that for you
Yeah.
until you get certified.
Subcontract.
Okay, that was the only question I had.
I'd like to entertain a motion.
So moved.
Yeah, we're gonna close the hearing.
I did close the hearing.
Oh, I don't think you did. Sorry.
All right, I'd like to close the hearing. I thought I did.
I'll make a motion to transfer the license of East Bay Ammunition LLC, AKA Secana Outfitters, 777 Main Road,
Subject.
subject to
Subject
all,
meeting all legal
right, legal requirements.
Second?
Just a point, it's not a transfer, it's a new license.
Okay, it's a new license, okay,
Yes.
new
That's
license.
not what
then.
I understood at the agenda meeting. I thought we were,
No, it cannot be transferred per
It's a new one.
ordinance.
Okay,
It has to
so
be
a new license.
New license.
Yes.
Thank you.
Second.
motion's been made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Congratulations, good luck.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
General business, Councilor Cook, general discussion regarding recruitment, hiring, retention of firefighter EMTs, continued from 10/12/2021. Hi, Bruce. Donna? Donna, would you like to say anything, or you want Bruce to talk?
No, it's fine, I'll just give him a chance to sit down. At least, he's not asking questions and he's in mid-go. Yeah, I'll let Bruce, I think there's one question I have to ask, and I'm gonna ask Chris. Are we in negotiations with the fire department?
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment. All right, so one of the first ones was, or the third one was, I think we could cover, is what we can do to entice young people to come to this, be a firefighter, to be part of Tiverton, and innovative ideas for high school offerings, BCC offerings, and how do we meld it and make it easier for people to just go and take the fire exam and be ready to go to the academy. So I'm gonna turn it over to you. You can take care of that.
So anybody right now can go and take the Rhode Island Association of Fire Chiefs is giving the written exam now. Before, it used to be each community gave their own. The Fire Chiefs Association is given, one that last year, I believe it was, all the cities and towns had a chance to jump on board and use that one. Tiverton did do that. So you don't need to be associated with a fire department or a volunteer fire department. Anybody can just go and take that exam.
So what's in the works, or if there's anything in the works for going forward with having high schoolers be able to take as electives some of these courses and have it used towards their diploma? Or can they go to BCC and get not only electives towards their high school diploma, but also towards their associate's degree?
Sure, so I have been in contact with BCC, Chief Robert of the Fire Science program over there, and I've also been in contact with the guidance counselor and the principal at the high school. It's not just something that we can say, okay, this class, we're gonna, meld together and we can do it. It's gonna take some, I won't say negotiations, but, it's gonna take some work to get this in place. I'd like to see it in place for next school year. I think that's possible, talking to Chief Robert and also talking to the high school. They're both very excited, both parties are very excited about it, but it's, right now I'm waiting to hear back from Chief Robert, so we can set up a meeting between BCC and the high school to figure out those exact questions. What classes should they be taking in high school to prepare themselves for the program at BCC? Are they going to get credits for them at high school? I most certainly think they will. I think they'll even get some credits towards their associates at BCC. But that's all stuff that has to be worked out.
Right, and to let them know that actually, do you have to be 18 before you can take that exam?
I think so.
Yes.
I believe you do. I believe
Okay.
you do.
Yes.
All right, so they'd have to be 18 to take the exam. All right. So I don't see any reason, considering the problems we're having, all fire departments are having, that we don't move quickly to make this easily accessible to high schoolers to do this. Hopefully, the BCC, when they go there to take while they're in high school, either at the high school or BCC, would the course be free? Because they were offering free programs at BCC.
I don't know if the high school students would go to BCC to take classes, or...
Would they go to the high school to teach it?
I think some of their classes in high school would gear them towards and prepare them for the fire science program at BCC, and hopefully get some credit at BCC towards their associates.
But that's 2 years. The program at BCC is 2 years.
Yeah, usually. Associates, that's right.
And we don't hire EMTs. We hire
We hire
cardiacs.
firefighter EMTs.
No, we don't. We hire paramedics or,
Firefighter EMT, cardiacs, or medics.
right, but we don't hire EMTs anymore. We only have cardiacs.
Basics, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't have, right,
We don't
right.
hire
EMT,
basics.
cardiacs, or paramedics.
Okay.
That's what we hire.
All right, so
yeah.
how do they get that?
Cardiac is the entry level, right?
Yeah,
That-
cardiac is the base.
That's what I'm saying, Donna.
Right.
They have to take that
Would
course.
would it be possible, Bruce, to look into health class at the high school, setting up something for EMT credits? Because I know some kids do take health classes at the high school. Maybe they could institute something so that they could start their EMT program in high school, and that way, by the time they graduate, at least they'd have some knowledge of EMT, basic, and go right into cardiac or into paramedic. Because I do know they have a health program there.
They do. I don't know what they have for, I mean, when I went there was the health class.
Right, right.
That was
Right.
a little while ago, obviously.
Yeah.
I won't say how long, but,
No.
so, yes, I'll absolutely look into that. I'm also going to a meeting Thursday night with the fire chiefs, and one of the items on the agenda is to, and I don't know anything about it, I just know the agenda item, it's to stop applicants or stop people in the EMT classes so they can, when they apply, they're already EMTs. Now, I don't know if they're talking about basics or the cardiac level, I just don't know. I know what the agenda item is, so I'm certainly going to that meeting. So I think that's exactly what we're talking about, preparing, getting people prepared for these jobs.
I know a few years back that some people from Tiverton used to go to Bristol. They used to join the Bristol Volunteers because they had a EMT program that, if you were a member, you could participate over there and you'd be covered under, insurance liabilities and all that. And we had a few guys that did that. I don't know if that's still a possibility, but I know they used to do that about 10, 12 years ago.
So how would you do that? Don't you have to be 18?
Yeah, you'd have to join. Well, I think they had a program over there. It was like 16 years old. They called them junior firefighters or whatever it was, and they could go, and I think they met twice a month on a certain night, and they went over different things to become an EMT. Basic. Over there, they have basics, cardiacs, and paramedics, and that's what they used to do. And then it would give them like a stepping stone to get started. And then, because some people think that's what they want to do, but then when they get into it and they see the blood and guts and they're like, this is not for me, And so that was the way of getting them introduced to it, so that they weren't really dishing out a lot of money, and they were seeing if this is what they really wanted to do. And it did work, for a while, but I don't know if they still do that today.
So how is it possible to work with the Bristol Volunteer and see if we can coordinate to get some of them to see what it is, and also maybe get the cardiac and whatnot over there if they, I don't know, is it possible?
I will certainly talk to Chief DeMello and find out what they have going right now and, what's available to. I believe in order to be a volunteer firefighter over there, you have to be a town resident, but you can be a volunteer EMT, I think. 'Cause you don't, I think when you're an EMT over there, you do shifts per se, as opposed to, the firefighters, volunteer firefighters,
Home sleeping.
I think it's different. Bob.
They're home sleeping, you get the call.
So, I will certainly look into.
Yeah, but I think the thinking has to be that we're all in the same boat. It doesn't matter if it's Bristol or Middletown, Newport. It really doesn't matter, because the pool of people that are going into the field is very small. It continues to be small. So I think what we have to do is we have to change the paradigm of how we do things, make it more inclusive, so that we're getting kids involved in it, schooled in it, make it easy for them to do it. It seems kind of hodgepodge to me right now. Just to me, it's like you got to do something over here and you got to do something over here. To me, I don't know.
Yeah,
but
I certainly want to say it's what we do is hodgepodge.
no, I mean trying to get to where they need to be. It's like you take some courses over here and then you got to do something over here. I just
take a
wanted to make it
paramedic course.
easier.
Like anybody can just take a paramedic course.
Right. Yeah, you don't have to be associated with.
But I want them to be able to get it for either their diploma or towards their diploma or BCC. I want it to count for something.
But they still have to take the paramedic course.
Yeah, I want to figure out how to make it easier. How do you make it easier where they kind of streamline into it, kind of?
What do they have at BCC? They have fire safety, right?
Fire science. Fire science.
Fire science?
Yes.
So at one point, and I don't know if they still have this, the students at Tiverton were allowed to take courses at BCC.
They were for free.
And it was free, and you got credit. And you would take them either in the evening or on Saturday. They say you could get up like a semester's worth of courses in your senior year. You'd have to really be going a lot. But I know my kids at least got a couple of courses at BCC. I don't know what was open to them.
I think, yes.
My daughter was a psych major. She took psych courses at BCC. So they may have limits on what you could take, but maybe we could look into maybe a fire science course.
Absolutely.
Especially if it's offered on a Saturday or in the evening and the student wasn't playing football or, could it go to it? And so maybe that's talking to the high school and see what our opportunities are with BCC or CCRI.
Sure. So I think, yeah, I automatically think of BCC because
It's close, right?
proximity, right?
They do have the EMT course at CCRI.
Is it in Middletown? Because that's where all their healthcare is in Middletown. So it may be.
I don't know where Mason went, but he got a certificate.
One thing I will say is BCC is a very accredited program for both paramedic and fire science, so, and it's close by.
They have a great
Yeah, I agree.
great program over
Yes,
there.
good program.
So a lot of these questions, when we have the meeting between myself, BCC, and the high
Okay.
school, I think will certainly be answered.
Yeah, I think it's something that the high school has to try to talk to BCC about.
Right.
Wouldn't have anything to do with us. The guidance office and,
I also would like to include getting the word out to not just public school, but to private schools and homeschoolers. Their children are children. I mean, maybe they'll want to be a firefighter. You just never know. So it can't be exclusive to public school. It needs to be to all the children. So I
Certainly don't disagree.
yeah.
I know, I've been recently, last year, 2 years ago, I don't know if they had it last year. 2 years ago, they have the, like a job fair, I forget what they call it, at the high school. And we went there and set up a booth and, you know, I don't know, I will certainly take suggestions on how to.
There's a lot of interest. The thing is that we're in a unique situation because here you got to be a firefighter, medic. Some places they just hire firefighters. You don't have to be a medic, so it makes it a little tougher for some people because now they got to do both. They got to wear two hats, or they got to go to school for two things: firefighter and medic.
That's what I'm saying.
And
It's kind
so
of-
sometimes it's a little tougher than it is. You know, like forever used to just be firefighter, medic was separate. But now they're starting to train. This last class that they did, everybody was a medic and a firefighter. They're starting to cross-train because I think they're looking down the road that the future's going to be, you're going to be a firefighter,
and
medic.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And you don't go to the armed forces for people that are coming out that are medics? Do you try to recruit them?
I don't go to the,
No? Okay,
like the recruiters and ask for their,
okay, all right.
I never thought about doing that.
All right,
to be
so
honest
I'll leave that up to you with the specialists and whatnot to see what you can come up with, you know, trying to get these things for the kids to take and have a smoother transition into the firefighter field, so.
I'd just like to say that it's not, you know, it's not that you just take a couple classes and then you become a firefighter.
Oh, I know that.
There's a lot to it, yeah. But that's an
Months and months and months of.
or a
But
paramedic.
that is an interesting point that Donna made. Maybe the National Guards have medical units, different. Sometimes you get kids that are just out of high school, they join the National Guard's medic unit. You might want to look there and see if they're interested in becoming paramedics, firefighters. That may be, you know, a place to look, you know?
I'm just looking
Try to
everywhere.
sneak into the National Guard.
Just
Well, some
trying.
people do that. They get out of school, they join the Guards, and, because the Guards pay for your education.
Yep.
You know, if you go, maybe they'd be interested in being medics, you know, firefighter medics. Might be something to look into.
Recruiting them.
Yeah,
Good point, Donna.
I'm certainly willing
Thank you.
to.
Thank you. Now, I'm
do what
just
we
trying,
can.
yeah.
We are in the process, just to let you know, we are in the process of trying to hire some candidates now, because we are down. We do have 14 that we're looking at. We were supposed to have interviews with the Personnel Board on Wednesday. It got moved to Friday, but we are in the process, and we have some pretty good, yeah, oh yeah, for sure. And actually, I think a couple of them, at least one of them, maybe two of them are
Tiverton residents?
from the Guards, to be honest with you.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of Tiverton residents,
The
yes.
thing is not only getting them here, it's keeping them here. That's our biggest problem, is keeping them.
It is.
Seems like we get them, we train them, we give them experience, and off they go.
Well, because other places pay better.
I understand that, but I just, you know,
I don't think you
believe
can
me,
stop
I
that.
understand it.
I don't know if you can stop that. I mean, people are,
Well, you can pay better.
Pay a lot better.
well,
Yeah.
I know, but no one can stop you from going where you're, having your job to go to another job. No one can stop that.
No, but you have to make the job they're in more inviting to stay.
Right.
Well,
Appealing
Compatible
to
with,
stay, yes.
compatible with our salaries. 'Cause that's what we lose them
Well,
to.
That's a big reason.
That's a big reason.
That is a big reason.
I was on this recruitment committee years ago.
couple years ago.
And that was one of the reasons. People just are trained here, but then they see they can make so much more somewhere else. And they can't. Trust me, they can't.
no, I know, but it's kind of the same. I can only go by what I was in was nursing around here. I'm going to get less than if I go towards Boston. I think it kind of works the same way. If you go to Providence, you're going to get more, but they have a more tax base. I mean,
It does. I mean, we can't, salary-wise, we can't compete with the big, Warwick,
Right.
Providence, Cranston. We just,
No, you
there's just
can't.
no way that
Are we
Tiverton's
competing
gonna.
with Portsmouth?
No.
No.
We are not.
We're not competing
We're
with
not
any
competing with
Middletown or
Portsmouth. We're not
Newport.
competing with
Middletown.
Middletown.
We're not competing with anybody at the
We're not
moment.
competing with
yeah,
anybody.
we're competing with Westport.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, Little Compton too.
No, we're not.
I think, no, Little Company
Even-
gets more, Joe.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
We compared it last year.
I guess that would be for
That's another
negotiations.
topic altogether. but-
Another topic, yeah.
All right, so can we move on, or do you have other questions, Donna?
Well, I think we needed to also talk about the fact that we keep doing the same thing over and over again and keep expecting somehow a different outcome if we just knuckle down or we, do all these things. And I was just wondering if, that's why I'd asked for a subcommittee or just people to talk so that we could figure out, what do you do if 5 people quit and you have now you can't even make a schedule? Like, what do? You only have certain times that the school's available. So what do you do in the meantime? I mean, it's not like nursing. You can call up nursing staffing and maybe they'll send some nurses. I mean, you don't even have that set up to go, we need some firefighters, could you send some down here?
We pay overtime
We're doing
and,
Well,
We've
you
done
can
that
only
with
do that to
Little
a
Compton,
point, and
right?
then you
Little
burn your
Compton still
people
did,
out and they
haven't they?
quit.
When you were short.
So, I mean, what do you do?
They helped us out with the casino.
go ahead.
Madam Chair, thanks. Madam President. Don, I do appreciate everything that you've raised, and thank you for that. I also have heard the chief, I'm not sure of the perspective that we keep trying the same things over and over again, and they aren't working. I mean, the chief has outlined some of the efforts that he has made and continues to make, working with the Fire Chiefs Association, working with the schools, looking at other options. And yeah, they're all there. And I think part of working with the Fire Chiefs Association is collectively coming up with other ideas. Certainly the statewide test, I think, was done in a way to help make it easier for people.
Because it is a state, it's a nationwide issue. It's not a Tiverton,
Right.
like I said the other day, it's
Right.
not a Tiverton issue. It's
Exactly.
That's,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's part,
Fire
a
chiefs see
big
that.
piece of it. And I think a big piece of it, so the item on the agenda is, hiring, recruitment, hiring, and retention. Recruitment and hiring, yes, can you find other ways to reach out to other groups, maybe more directly to the National Guard or something like that? But I know, knowing you and hearing you, I think you are constantly trying to figure out how to make other connections. I think the thing that we keep doing over and over again that isn't working is our retention and how we pay our firefighters and our law enforcement. Now, am I saying that we have the ability to raise those tremendously? No, but I think we have to recognize that that's a key gap for us. And with that key gap, we are going to do what Councilor Perry said, is we're going to recruit them, hire them, train them. A lot of money goes into training law enforcement and firefighters. And I think collectively we forget about that cost. But if we're able to increase salaries to a point where we're not having the turnover as much, then that cost goes down. And
If you're not
it's-
doing it as much. sure.
Right, exactly. And also, that retention helps with the overtime and the burnout. And there might be some other little things that we can do, but I think critically, it's that pay scale that we have to think about.
Yep. Right, can we move forward, or would you like to go on, Donna? It's up to you.
Well, I was thinking they could talk about regionalization. I just, what I'm seeing happening, we're never going to catch up.
We never have.
Okay, but you have to realize that, and I know we want to talk about, some reasons how we're going to make this happen, and I have to be careful because we'll be going into negotiations, but you do have to think about, what about regionalization? What about if Providence is going to hire like 100 people or something like that, and all of a sudden you have nothing?
They're slated
hire?
to hire 100 people in the near future, to be honest with you.
So you already have a very small pool of people. We're trying to make it bigger, but it's generally kind of small. There's a reason where it's going to exacerbate the problem, and I don't need to really go into that. You know what it is. And so I'm like, so is Providence going to be the one fire department, and we're going to be satellite of it?
No,
I mean,
because not only Providence is hiring, East Providence is hiring, Warwick's hiring, all the big cities are hiring. So we're talking a lot of people are going to be hired in the police and fire. We're competing with a lot of other people.
Well, that's my point. Like, are we going to end up that one's going to be the one that can actually hire the most people, and you're kind of like, cannibalizing your...
Yeah, we're going to be the training ground.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, if that happens, what are you going to do? And what's going to happen if it becomes like, one becomes so big and so accomplished at hiring that you have to become a satellite? All the smaller ones become satellites of the bigger one. It's just, this is what I mean by just thinking, like, of things, like, what are you going to do?
Regionalization is not on the agenda.
No.
No.
So
But,
we
yeah,
can't
I
just-
said concepts. I said,
Yeah, but I think that
Everyone hiring retention.
Chief's going to talk with other chiefs in the area and see what they can problem solve and
Before-
put together. And
it's
Before we would ever get to regionalization, it would take far more conversations between other chiefs and other town councils.
I'm hoping, yeah. I think this is a good way to start, though. And I know you're trying really hard, thank you.
I know that, like the regional, not the regional, the review, the study that had come out a while back that President DeMedeiros was part of, that the chief has actually entertained many aspects of that review. He's trying the best that he can to try to retain and keep people to the best of our ability.
Of course.
His hands are tied, too. There's only
It is,
so much
no,
the chief
there
can
is.
do.
But
He can't say, we'll cut the hours, we'll give you more money. He can't do that. He's got
Right.
to work with what he's got.
his hands are tied, so.
If you give me the authority, I will take some people. I guarantee it.
Don't get silly now. But also, out of this report came lateral hires, which we
Right.
have been able to recruit
Some-
in the past.
We have,
Some
yeah.
lateral
The per
hires.
diem thing came and went. It's not
The
as,
per diem
It's not working
never
out as
really-
like we thought it was going to,
never
right?
worked
no,
out.
it did not pan out.
Right.
I just think like nobody is listening.
And some of the equipment,
It's gonna be-
some of the equipment issues too that we've resolved over the last year or so
That's certainly working
with
out.
some of the new equipment, new fire engine.
No, Donna, I heard you make a comment that nobody's listening. Sorry, I take offense to that. We've all been listening, we've all been discussing it, we all recognize the difficult situation, the extremely difficult situation that the chief is in, that the town is in, that the law enforcement is in the town as well. Nobody's hiding that, nobody's not listening. It's not something that you can easily wave a wand at and fix, and I think we all recognize that, and we'll continue to work collectively to try to find answers.
And there's a lot of discussions during negotiations with the guys on how can we help, and
Make it
they've
better.
given us suggestions also.
They've been very
And
good.
we go over this over and over in negotiations, because they are also concerned about lack of staff. And they've given us a lot of suggestions. Per diem was one, and we tried it. But during negotiations, this conversation is constant, because that's one of the complaints, that there's not enough of them.
And we have to recognize we're post-COVID, and McDonald's can't hire. So those are untrained people. So now you're talking about people who need a lot of training, and it's not just the classroom, it's the hours and hours and hours of observation and job shadowing or whatever they have to do.
I mean, I think it would be fantastic if we could just hire a pool of candidates, train them, and have them in the waiting for when we have, if we have a mass exodus, as you know, as you suggested, or even just one or two. But it comes down to, again, money, time and money. It takes, just to outfit a firefighter for the training, it's $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. The academy itself is up near $3,500, I think. It's, 16 weeks, and we can't, if we, the town, would send somebody to the academy, they have to, they have to be covered by insurance and, all that stuff. So they would have to be employed, I would assume they would have to be employed by the town, or they certainly have to be covered by the town to do that. So I would love to have a pool of people that I could just send to the academy, but I don't.
We've also toyed with the idea of signing a contract, like we're gonna train you and you'll stay with us for 2 to 3 years, and we've put that in front of the union. There's been problems with that, right?
There are, but we're going to try to revisit that again next
We're
year.
gonna try to revisit that, so that if we train you and we give you all this, then you have to stay with us for, say, 3 years or something. And we've toyed with that quite a bit, but the union are not that happy with that, but we are going to, but we can't.
I'm not even sure if that's legal,
I know.
to be honest with you.
Well, it is in other places. Other companies do that. But that would come with a sign-up bonus. So we're gonna train you, we're gonna give you a sign-up bonus, and you have to stay with us for 3 years. Other companies,
So-
Well, you do
All we've been
sign,
able legally to do it through is
and you do
probation.
sign-on bonus that after a year you get this, after 2 years you get this, so.
hospitals do it all the time.
Hospitals
and
do
they're
it.
unions. So
Yeah.
there is a way to work it out.
Go
but
somewhere else.
It's a little complicated. Anyone who's been in negotiations knows that. So.
Everything's complicated nowadays.
Everybody is. Everyone is too, Joe. All right, Donna, so we'll, okay.
Continue plugging away.
This is my item.
Could you come back to us, Bruce, when you have that all set up? So
Sure.
you could, give a report. I don't want to give you work to do, but I'd like to know what's happening.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep, I will definitely keep you
Thank you so
in the
much.
loop, absolutely.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you. Next item, Council President DeMedeiros, discussion and possible vote to accept planning board solar ordinance review and findings memo and continue process. Mike, do you want to start this off, or?
So as you know, when we sent the council sent the solar ordinance to the planning board for their statutory findings, which they're required to do to make findings of fact related to its consistency with the comp plan and its general the applicability of the general purposes of zoning. The planning board met on October 5th, and they produced the letter that you have before you and sent it back to you, basically. I mean, not sent it back to you, but
Yeah.
complied with the complied with
No,
the.
does this comply with, it minimally?
It's a good attempt. I'm going to say that.
So I think you want some guidance from us on where to go from here.
Yeah, so what I'm really looking for is, I know solar's been controversial. I think we're way past the time of doing nothing. And, I'm looking for, the decision really comes down to what the council is willing to entertain and what kind of ordinance you're looking for. I think the public has a lot of good ideas. I don't want them to think that the planner and I have not looked at the URI. Matter of fact, I know that Jen went to the URI symposium I think it was 2 weeks ago. We've been looking at other towns' ordinances, so, we need some guidance. So, we're hearing that people don't want it in residential zones. You can certainly not put it in residential zones. We thought we have an incentive in the ordinance as it pertains to brownfields, because we're allowed more coverage in brownfields than we allow somewhere else. Certainly, the cutting of trees, when I didn't go to the conference, but Jen said the cutting of trees, the clear cutting of trees is a statewide issue, right? How do we prevent that from happening? What's the good way of doing it? We haven't really figured out a way to do that. I'm sure there is a way, but if that's something that the council wants to entertain, in other words, if you have a plot of land, you can't cut more than 20% of it to clear, to put solar panels on it, that could be a possibility. That's, but then people say, well, that's my property, I can do what I want. You could cut every tree down for a subdivision tomorrow, right? You can buy a lot of 40 acres and cut every tree down and put a road in and put houses. And that's just what the law is. So if we're going to treat solar differently, certainly could, but we've got to figure out how to, what to do. I don't want anyone to think that we're rushing this. In fact, I think we're behind schedule, frankly.
I have a suggestion.
And I would like, and I really, it's up, we can write anything you want and with public input, and I welcome it.
Joe, just wait. Are you done, Mike?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure he was done.
No, I have some concerns because it's not so much what we do now, it's the long-term effect. 20 years down the road, when they're falling apart and you got to get rid of them, the company's gone and it's hazardous material and we got to find a way to get rid of it.
Yeah.
There's a problem. I think there are a lot of ordinances in different towns in the area that have some good things in their ordinance I think we should be looking at and not just think about Tiverton. I think we should check around. I was told by Renee, she attended some kind of a seminar from Exeter, Rhode Island. Somebody in Exeter, Rhode Island gave a very good presentation, might even be willing to come down and give us one, that we could get some more information before we make a decision on this. Because this is something that's going to affect the town later on when we're all gone.
Right.
And they're going to say, what did those goofballs do, And I mean, I just think that we need some good information before we make the decision to either support this or not to. I don't want to say, don't do it, but let's look into surrounding communities. I also have reached out to Stoughton, Massachusetts. They have one off of Route 24 that when I go to Boston, I see it all the time. I reach out to them to see what kind of ordinance they have, but I think theirs is state. It's more of a state ordinance than it is a town. But I'm waiting to hear back from somebody there. But, there's one in Dartmouth over by, I believe it's DBS, somewhere over by DBS Building Supply. There's a big field there that has some too. So I just think it's something we should do a little more research on before we, have a public hearing, because I want to go to a public hearing with information that we can support. We can show that, at least we've done some legwork on and we have an idea of what the long-term effects are.
Joe, I agree with that, but I think that what I'm getting at my house is the public wants to have a public hearing. They want the planning board to do it, they want us to do it. I think more in getting a public hearing at this point and having everyone come to us, and of course, it's gonna be a busy night, thinking of having it at the high school, let people speak for 5-10 minutes, give us suggestions. This will give us more input in it too. We are nowhere near completing this at all. There, and like you said, Mike has been looking at other ordinances, so has Jay. I know Jay's been doing a lot of research on it, but I think it's time that we hear from the public and we write down notes from the public. That doesn't mean we're not going to have another public hearing.
And I
We
understand,
definitely have to.
but I want to make sure we have facts. I don't want people just saying, oh, yeah, this, I heard this, I heard that. No, I want to make sure we have facts.
Right. But
that
I
we
think
can
if
go
the
by.
public, and there's a lot of people out there in the public that have been doing research also. But I think we are nowhere near a final draft.
Fine.
We will have another public hearing, of course, when it becomes a final draft. We have to have another public hearing. But I think at this point, with the concern that's out there, and I gotta tell you, people say to me, why isn't there a public hearing? Why can't we speak? So I think if we have a public hearing on a night, just have the public talk to us. Meanwhile, do more research. The plan is doing, I'm gonna let you talk. The plan is doing research, But I think it's time we have one public hearing. And that doesn't mean it's the final public hearing, in no way. But it'll give us some sense of what the community wants. I think we know, but quite frankly, we haven't heard from the other side either. I think we need, maybe they don't have anything to say, because no one was contacting me for this, to be honest with you. So I think we need a public hearing, maybe at the high school, do like a 3-hour public hearing, and just hear what the people have to say. Meanwhile, we can do all the research, get some kind of proposal. Probably at that point, it goes back to the planning board so that they can look at it, and then come back to us and have the final public hearing. But I think at this point, I don't know about you, but I know you're getting emails and stuff, and I know some emails, I know that I'm getting phone calls.
I just don't want people to think that we're going to jump right into this and pass this, because, that's not my intention. I plan on doing as much research as I can before I make any
But I have
decision.
to be honest with you, this is stalled for a very long time. So I think we need to make, even if it's tiny bit steps towards this. If we have the public come and speak to us, we've done tons of public hearings in the past. And I have found some interesting things from public hearings. I've changed my opinions on a lot of things from public hearings. I've gone into a public hearing thinking I know how I was going to vote, and at the end, didn't vote that way, because I heard from the public and saw what they wanted to do. It'd be our first of at least 2 public hearings.
Okay.
But I think at this point, I think it's time we have a public hearing. People are getting frustrated, they haven't talked to us, except for emails and things like that, and I think it's time we do that. If anyone else has, and that's just my idea. But it'll be the first of probably a couple of public hearings, because there's gonna be drafts again, and at least it's moving it forward a little bit, and we have some idea of what people are thinking. Mike, I said enough.
I just want to echo, I don't think any of us are thinking to rush this through, and any suggestion that we are is really a false suggestion. We were reminded by a resident of a process that's in state law, so we're following that process. That's why it was sent to the planning board for their recommendation, or their review. We have that before us, and then we have a certain time frame for that initial public hearing. I think that public hearing is important to get for the same reasons that the president said. And, I can tell you when I first got it, I have markups all over my initial draft with just questions I had before I did research, and since then I've done some research. And honestly, a lot of my markups are in relation to questions I have around large solar arrays, which I know is one of the big issues. So, certainly I've gotten a lot of correspondence. We all have, of folks who are suggesting that we're trying to rush something through. We're not. I think we showed that with how we've been handling the short-term rentals. 4 of us on this council, this is our first opportunity to look at this issue. It was the can was kicked down the road for whatever reasons. No judgment there. It was kicked down the road, and we're trying to pick up that can and see what we can make work out of it. Because I do think we have to have something. What that something looks like is probably going to be very different than what is on paper right now. I used to work in a meat plant. As a
You
kid.
did a lot of things.
As a teenager. And I saw sausage being made and everything else. And, watching sausage being made, there's a lot of stuff that goes in it that you don't
Never ate it again, right?
want to see. No, I love it. But, this is the same process, and Speaker Pelosi talked about that the other day around the Federal Infrastructure Acts. The democratic process is not a clean process, it's a messy process. It's intentionally a messy process so that everybody, as many people who want to provide input, can have their input heard. And I will also say, I've heard some suggestions also that we're, favoring energy companies. I think the only person I heard from an energy company was the fellow who came that one night, and that's the only time I heard from him. And I think I got one email from an energy company, and that's it. So everything else has been residents.
Yeah, well,
So I've also gotten a number, no energy companies, but phone calls, text, emails from people. No one saying rush this. Everyone's asking us to slow it down, and I totally agree. I really went into this thinking I knew something, and I have done a lot of research, and I still have so much more to learn. And it's not just the after effects, it's the before. This is going to be with us forever. So if we start cutting down all these trees, and what about the animals and all of the habitats that get
Right.
torn up, and the erosion that happens in our waterways, and there's just too many negative ramifications if we rush this through and we do it wrong. I know Councilor Edwards had said that there was a town that had done it, their plan 10 times, like 9. We don't want to be them. So we want to really, really look at this.
8 litigations.
So,
Renee's here.
How do you like my idea?
so no, I love that, and I think that people who are,
Schedule it, and I want to do it separate. I want to do it on an off
Off
night.
night, yeah.
Like a Monday that we
Yeah,
don't
that's
have a
fine.
meeting.
So-
Just do it for that.
so people who are emailing us and calling us, if you can come to that and give us your ideas, because a lot of them are the same, then there's a lot of other alternative ideas too. And the planning board did a great job. It's just, technology's changed, and what we know has changed, and we've seen failures in other areas, so we just don't want to be that story.
Okay,
Right,
so,
agree. Thank you.
yeah. Well, you haven't asked to speak. I'm not.
Well, I can,
Use your microphone, Jay, please.
hang on.
All
I
right.
was going to schedule a meeting.
Pass that down. I wrote this out, I'm passing around in case anybody falls asleep.
Too late, I already left.
So,
Are you going to really present this whole thing?
I don't have to, I can synopsis it.
It's up to everybody. Should be part of the,
Well, the public will get it too.
We'll just let them read it.
yeah, we'll let him read it.
All right, so, I'll try to speak fast.
No, you don't have to, I just,
Just
So,
read it.
It is my opinion that a bit more investigation work needs to be put into the development and approval of the preliminary solar ordinance that was presented to the planning board and has been subsequently reviewed by that body and returned to the council. It is a requirement that any ordinance be supported by the comprehensive plan and its intent. The comprehensive plan only makes one reference to the solar in the entire document. That's on page 55, Design Standards, Action 15. It says, and I quote, "The siting of such structures as satellite dishes, communications towers, wind towers, solar panels, water towers, pumping stations, fixtures, water storage tanks, utility wires, etc., should be undertaken with care and concern for their aesthetic impact on the community as a whole. Landscaped screening should be utilized, and siting should avoid heights of land where their appearance would be most intrusive to the visual quality of the town." I think we can agree that the comprehensive plan is basically silent with regard to any specific reference to solar installations in any area or for any use within our area of responsibility. A few short years ago, when the plan was developed and adopted, large-scale solar developments were of great concern. They are now. We now have a much clearer understanding of how much land they absorb, what is involved in their construction and maintenance, their appearance, and how the public feels about them and where they are sited. We need to include a vision on how we see the solar ordinance or see solar development as part of Tiverton's future, included within the comprehensive plan and within our ordinance. The comprehensive plan does, however, contain numerous references to the desire to maintain the rural character and scenic beauty of our town and controlling and managing development. It refers to maintaining and preserving farmland, open space, woodland areas, and watersheds, as well as historic buildings. We need to interpret the comprehensive plan in its entirety and not simply look for and target specific references. I don't believe anyone can make the argument that medium and large-scale solar projects do not fall under the broad general heading of development. They are commercial development by their very nature. The state has made it clear that while it desires alternative energy installations, it prioritizes the use of brownfield sites, marginal lands, quarries, existing industrial areas, parking lots, rooftops, and canopies as preferred sites for solar installations. We should do the same as part of any solar ordinance we adopt, and we should use incentives to promote the use of these sites. We should also actively discourage the use of farmland, woodlands, open space, and watersheds by making its use disadvantageous to a developer of a solar project. These things can be done through a very carefully crafted ordinance. We need also be mindful of the rights and needs of all property owners, both those who desire to develop their property by installing a solar project and those who will be affected by that development. We can use special use permitting process to allow for varying and dual uses of properties with regard to solar projects. I don't think anyone wants to totally ban any solar development or adopt a not in my backyard policy, but we need to be mindful of their impact and they need to be thoughtfully cited. Finally, we have no mention at all of wind energy and its use within the comprehensive plan or town ordinances. This will likely become the next big thing, as it already has in many other areas. Coastal areas have access to an abundance of wind energy potential, and we need to be ahead of that curve. I believe we could include this within the solar ordinance and simply change the title to alternative energy sources, or we can just address it at a later date, but it needs to be addressed. I am asking that we devote some more time to reviewing the state's overall plan for solar developments. I believe that we should develop a subcommittee of the planning board and staff it with the planner, planning board members, a council member, and members of the public who may have an interest or expertise to share. Their task would be to solicit the advice of the DEM, Smart Growth, URI, and other available resources to review our town's ordinances. This should be coupled with several public workshops to help identify the issues. We could also post a survey, as we have done for the casino revenue, to obtain opinions from our residents. Then we modify the ordinance as needed before presenting it to a general public hearing. We should have a deadline for completion of this important work. Now, I fully realize that this process has been going on for a long time, and this request will slow it further, but it is too important an issue for the future of our town to rush it. The goal is to get it right and not have to modify it again in the near future. I have heard mention of one town that has modified their ordinance 9 times. Let's not be that town. And thank you for your attention.
It's up to you guys. I think we should have the public hearing. Maybe after that, develop some kind of subcommittee. I'm not sure. I know that the public is asking to speak, so it's up to whatever you want to do.
Madam
At
Chair,
this point,
I'd like to
yes.
make a motion that we schedule a public hearing for one of our off Mondays in November, which would be either the 1st, the 15th, or the 29th.
I'll second that.
The Harbor Commission's meeting November 1st, so I'm going to be tied up with
Yeah,
them for a little bit.
You're getting close to Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving is the week of the 22nd, which is also a regular meeting week.
We need to post it too, so we,
Oh, yes.
Well, it's not going to be, it's not going to be for passage, it's just going to be just a public hearing.
It's
So we don't
just,
have to
yeah,
do the
so
3
as long
weeks.
as, yeah.
oh, you don't?
I don't know, it's going.
Is there any way we can do a Saturday? Maybe like a Saturday
What
morning?
it is so that the
I
public
can't
can
do
come and
Saturdays
give us
because
their
of my
opinion, and then we move on. Of course, like I said, this isn't the last public hearing, but it's just, I think people want to speak and speak to us,
Yep.
and we'll encompass it.
Bill has a good point. How about a Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, oh,
A Saturday afternoon?
I'm busy with my in-laws on Saturday, so I can't do Saturdays.
Saturdays are
Okay.
tricky for me lately.
Well, I just think because we used to have the town meeting on a Saturday, and we used to get a good turnout because people didn't work. I just
But lately,
thought that
when we
might
have
be.
like the budget hearings on a Saturday, we get no one. I
Well-
think we do better at night. I don't know why.
Just sometimes at night you're rushed because it's getting late, people tired, they worked all day. I just,
Well, if you
yeah.
want, we could start it at 6,
that's fine.
and then see, 4 hours would be 10 o'clock.
That's
I think
fine.
that would be plenty of time.
Or we do 2.
Oh, we could do 2.
Two.
We could do 2. If it ends up as getting too late,
We just
we do
extend
another
Oh,
one.
Yeah, yeah, we do one and see what the turnout is. I mean, you
Yeah,
know,
right.
we may get
'Cause
2 people.
Sometimes we think we're gonna get a lot of people.
Yeah, you might get
and we
2.
no
Yeah.
one.
It's also
Yeah,
going to
that's
depend on
fine.
availability
So do you
of
want,
space.
I think we should do it at the high school, quite frankly.
Yeah, I would say schedule it there first, rather than do it here and then find out when it's too many people, we got to switch. Just do it there.
So how about November 15th?
So move. Oh, you said it already.
No, I'm just asking if everyone's going to be around November 15th.
Well, the planning board has scheduled a normal, if they need, sorry, the planning board has their scheduled special meeting, but I don't know if we have
But that'll be
anything.
here, and
You know, I just want to make sure that I'll have to, can't be in two places, so, but I don't, we don't have anything scheduled, Susan? Okay, that's
I
fine.
don't know if you necessarily need to be at the.
Oh, I think I need.
Oh, yeah, I think so. Oh, yeah, absolutely,
I don't
absolutely.
know what I was thinking, yeah. But
And the planning board
Travis,
does, too.
but Travis could go.
I don't think they have it, it's just it's a placeholder meeting for them, so I don't think it's.
But the planning board
it's not a-
needs to be at the public hearing,
Right, it's
too.
not a regular meeting for them, it's a special meeting if needed.
Unless we did the 16th, a Tuesday.
No, 15th is fine.
Okay,
Is that fine with everybody?
that's fine with me.
Yeah. Thanksgiving week is a very tricky week. That's why I brought that up, because a lot of people go away.
And you want to start at 6 on that night?
November 15th at
6?
6?
I'm sorry, I gave you the wrong,
I
16th
just
is
don't know
the
what the
special
hurry
planning board
is.
meeting.
No.
All right, so number,
You know what, I can't do that.
We can't do the 15th, Deb?
Be on vacation
Oh,
November 15th?
that
Okay.
week.
29?
How about the 29th?
Yeah. I
But
could
that
do
is right after Thanksgiving weekend.
First day of hunting?
Hanukkah.
It's Hanukkah.
Doesn't matter. It's not, it's a minor holiday, believe it or not.
It'll be one of your, I thought it'd be one of your gifts to have a.
I'm sure it's okay, because he would have told me. How about the 29th? How does that sound to everybody?
Yeah.
Fine with me.
Donna, the 29th? Are you going to be around?
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, we got to check with the schools, too, see if they have availability.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. I know, Mike says it's fine.
Hanukkah's a minor holiday, really, so.
Mike says it. Well, he
I'm
is
sorry,
Jewish. He is Jewish.
I follow it. I've done plenty of things on Hanukkah. The high holidays and Passover are the big nights.
Believe me, if it was a big thing, Mike would let us know. So, Joan, you want to see if they have availability on the 29th? If not, we'll have to go into December, but let's check for the 29th first.
Got to make sure there's no homecoming.
What? It's not homecoming.
Make sure there's no homecoming.
They just had homecoming.
Just had it, we just had
I
it.
want to make sure there's no homecoming on that
I
night.
know what
Once a
your
year,
joke
right?
is.
Yeah, but
I was there.
I don't know if they're doing plays or anything right now.
Right,
so-
that's why we need to check.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll
At least
check on
10 of
that.
them.
All right. Donna, do you agree with having the hearing?
It really doesn't matter. Do whatever you want.
Okay, Donna.
Okay. All right, so there's a motion on the floor in a second to schedule the public hearing. Any further discussion? There was, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike
And Mike, Joe.
and Joe.
As long as it doesn't say vote. Just have a public comment.
Right, it doesn't say vote,
Public
right.
hearing.
How about this, we just schedule the public hearing.
We don't even
Okay.
have an ordinance to present. We just want their opinion.
Well, we should give them the ordinance that's drafted.
Right, right.
As a starting point.
But it's a
As a starting
As
starting
a
point.
launching pad.
It's not an ordinance that we're willing to go forward.
I understand that,
Let's
but we
take
need to,
that.
we need to have a baseline to which we're discussing their issues that they'd like to have.
Absolutely. All those in favor? Okay.
At the high school.
Yes, but Joan's gonna check, and if she can't get it, she'll contact me, see if what's available in December, and then we'll send an email to all of you to see if you're available.
So now, do we vote on accepting the planning board?
Oh, yeah, we can vote on accepting the planning board's recommendation. I thought you were gonna say something.
No. I just didn't want to close the item unless we
Right.
finish reviewing findings.
And I'll second that.
Okay, so the vote is to accept the planning board's solo ordinance review and findings. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay, thank you. Jay, this was really good, and it's not saying we're not gonna, like, we will go forward.
Well, I'll
You know what I'm
tell
saying?
you, I wrote it out, and I know everybody, a lot of people said the same thing. I wasn't going to go home without doing it.
No, and that's fine. And we might, we might decide on a subcommittee, but we need to talk to the public.
Oh, yeah.
Tax Assessor Robert, revaluation update.
No,
The rest of it. Hi,
Good evening. I will definitely try to make this brief.
that's okay.
But what I wanted to do was come before the town council to kind of give a overview of this past revaluation that just got completed, but also kind of revaluations in general up front, because we have some new members on the council that may not be aware of the revaluation process and what goes into it. And some residents definitely not aware, because when I go out in the field, I get a lot of questions about why we're doing revaluations so frequently. Back in 1997, prior to 97, revaluations were conducted once every 10 years. And those revaluations were full, door-to-door data collection process. And again, once every 10 years. In 97, the General Assembly amended that to have the revaluation cycle once every 3 years to more accurately reflect what's going on in the marketplace. But in doing so, they were aware of the cost of these full revaluations. So what they decided to do was every 9 years, we would do the full revaluation measuring list, go door to door. And the interim revaluations were just statistical updates. The only field activity during those were double checking building permits and the properties that have sold. Because it's the properties that sell the driving factor that behind updating the assessments. So this past revaluation was a full revaluation, door to door. So they started the project in late 2019. They were out in the field, going door to door, asking to do an entry, do a walkthrough, to make sure all the information that we had was accurate. And then COVID hits. So we stopped the interior inspections. And for a short time, we actually stopped all inspections. But when we got back to it, we were just doing strictly exterior-only inspections. We were knocking on doors, just letting the property know that we were there, but no information was really collected at that point. Because we didn't want to have that communication going on and people being upset that we were on the property in the first place during COVID. What we ended up doing was sending out data mailers to the residents, asking them to verify interior information. Just like many requests for information, we don't get a huge response back. But what we did get back, we got either by letter or phone call or email, and the revaluation company made any adjustments that they needed to make. Once that process was done, you're aware that we mailed out letters, and then we had the calculation error that was embarrassing and unfortunate. But I know at that time there was a lot of upset, and rightfully so. But just to update the council on the fallout from that, the people who got the letters, and there's a substantial number of people that got letters, we only got 1.7% complaints or questions about it. So I think people kind of got it. Some people, like Jay and I talked about earlier, sometimes people just, okay, this is my assessment and that's it. But it didn't turn out to be that big of a deal as far as the public's concerned, but I personally think it was a big deal only for the fact that it should not have happened in the first place. So to that end, I did have several discussions with the revaluation company, and I ended up having them reduce the money that we owe them, partly through the contract and partly for any upcoming fees. So I've got that reduced by approximately $25,000. So the town right now has 8,439 parcels. So that's what they inspected. So they went out door to door, but not through the interior. Vacant lots they reviewed. So once they get all that data, the next step is to take a look at the properties that have actually sold. So there was roughly 600 sales that they analyzed. And when they do that analysis, they first and foremost, they want to make sure that the sale price is accurate and, whatever has been reported is the true sale price. They want to make sure that the information that we have on our property is accurate as much as possible, because those properties are the ones that build that database as far as extrapolating the value for everybody else. So once they go through that 600 sales, they weed out the sales that are either foreclosures, distressed sales, family sales, because those do not accurately reflect true market value. Once they do that analysis, then they build their tables to establish what value should be based on the market activity. And then they do testing. So they do a sales ratio test. So basically what they'll end up doing is once they build their tables and come up with values, they'll match their value against the sale price. So that's a sales ratio test. So generally what we want to be is somewhere around 95, 97% of the sale price. We don't want to quite get to 100 because we don't want a certain number of properties to be overassessed. So there's a little bit of a cushion that we build in there. And then once we do that, there's a second test that we do, which is a standard that is established by the International Association of Assessing. Each state has their own assessing group association, but there's a nationwide one that sets standards for assessing mass appraisals. So what they do is they come up with a term called COD, and that measures how accurate the sales analysis is. And what they want to do is that COD has to be anywhere between 5 and 15 points. So the closer you get to 5, the more accurate your assessments are based on that sales activity. So just to reference the last revaluation, which was just an update, that COD was 7.58. So well within the range. It was a good revaluation. This revaluation, after that second letter got mailed out, we were at 6.2. So a much better confidence level of the assessments. And the reason I kind of mentioned the last revaluation versus this one, because it was a different company. So I do hear out in the field, well, how come you use this company? And, the other company was fine and such, and there's so many problems with this reval. Well, if you recall last revaluation, there was always those similar complaints as well. There's something wrong with it, all of this. So it's typically the initial shock of the value that people get upset with, and understandably so. But the revaluation companies, there's far and few in between. There's only really 3 players out there. The biggies, they're buying the small companies. So right now, there's only 3 companies that really do this in this area. They all do the analysis the exact same way. But just like if you were to hire an appraiser for your own home, if you hire 3 appraisers, you're going to get 3 different numbers. But hopefully, they're all going to be in a tight range. Same with the revaluation. No matter what company you use, they're going to get pretty close to whatever that number is. The total taxable value of the town was increased by $418,685,000, so roughly a 18.3% increase in value. Currently, we have 131 appeals that have been filed, and just to let you know, 15% of that has been come from Country View. They were hit pretty hard with the market increase, so they're appealing a bit, and also a lot of vacant land. Vacant land, because of that revaluation cycle being only once every 9 years, and then the other 2 just updates, we don't really take a hard look at vacant land unless it's sold. So this time, we took a harder look at it. There was a lot of notes in our file that certain lots were unbuildable for whatever reason, but there was no documentation. So those property owners, they saw an increase. Some of those people have appealed, and again, rightfully so, because they are questioning it. But most of those appeals that have come back, they've been denied because they do agree that, yes, okay, this is a buildable lot. Because right now, with new technologies on septics and such, there's not a lot of land that's not buildable, unbuildable. So we're going through that process of the appeals right now. Residents have to the end of November to appeal their assessment. I've got 45 days to respond once they do file, and I've given you guys a monthly report on the appeals and how they've been handled so far. And just to kind of dovetail back to the Board of Assessment, we are going to definitely need some.
I was waiting for you to bring that up again.
Yeah. We can, if need be, now I don't see that as an issue, but I believe that we could go to the state to petition or an extension on
Well, Mike said they
it.
could go to court if we didn't have a
Yeah,
board.
if you don't respond in so many days, it's automatically
It goes
deemed
to
a denial,
court.
right?
Well, that's to me, to the Board of Review.
The board
Yeah.
has certain days, they don't render a decision. It's denied.
They've got 90, you're right, they've got 90 days to render.
So
But we
it's not-
can ask for an extension of that 90 days.
They'd have to pay it, right? It's expensive to go to court. So
Well, I know, but
Yeah.
what happens if we never get anyone to volunteer?
Joan and prior to Joan, Nancy, advertised quite heavily for volunteers, and it's tough, not only just the tax board of review, but
it's for everything.
everything. So it's very difficult to get volunteers.
That's
So
what I'm afraid of. That's
Yeah.
why I asked what happens.
Right.
And that's what Mike could tell me. I know it's expensive, but
Yeah. So also during the revaluations, it's also, a learning curve for me each time that I go through one. So one of the things I'm taking a look at, I'm already drafting the RFP for the next revalve, and I'm making notes based on this last one and even the one prior to that. And one of the key things I'm going to be doing, which is a novel idea, is I'm going to have the revaluation company present me the values much earlier.
Yep.
So I have more time, because what happens is, you got 8,500 parcels in town. They send out the letters, basically the same time they send out the letters, they give me the data. I've got 6 weeks to look at 8,500 parcels, it's an impossibility. So I'm going to have them give me the information earlier, but one of the things that I've also done is I contacted our GIS vendor. So once I get that information, I can just upload it there, and the GIS is a great tool to analyze, because visually you can see where you have outliers and that type of thing. One thing that I hear a lot out on appeals is that people do recognize that their property values have increased. A lot of complaints I get is taxes. My job's not taxes, but I am the guy that they see. So what I would like to do, one of your town council meetings soon, is to present for you guys to analyze what we're currently doing for exemptions, and maybe we even expand the program. But just like I caution everyone, I'm not an advocate either way. My job is just simply value. But I am the front guy that does administer the exemptions. But what happens is when you exempt, then someone else is picking up that burden. So it's a fine balance as far as giving exemptions and how much you give, because it has to be made up by other taxpayers.
And Dave, we don't have a homestead exemption?
We do not.
Right.
And that's one of the things I'll be bringing on up. Several communities do have them, but we do not.
And how do you get that? Is that just determined within the town, or?
Yes, yeah.
You need a state law change, right?
I don't believe you need a state law change for a homestead. I think there's enabling legislation that will allow cities and towns, but I'm unsure of that. But yeah, so basically we'd have to go through a hearing process and such, and maybe General Assembly to add a homestead exemption, and then it's just a matter of what that impact's going to be, and then how is that going to be shifted. So that's something that I will bring to the town council soon, and then we'll have to schedule probably a public hearing on any amendments that we make.
You mentioned the credit that you got worked out with the last vendor? You did?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, roughly 25,000. Yeah.
How long do we have this company for? What is our contract with them?
So it's just a one-time deal. So once they finish the project, when they're done, they're done.
Done?
So there is the revaluation, that whatever that time frame is, if it takes them a year, year and a half, or during an update, it might only take them 8 months. That's just the time frame. The RFP, the contract is to update values, that's it. There's no continuation. The only continuation is, they're still web hosting the information and their software. So there's maintenance agreements, and that's part of what I've negotiated, not to be paid.
But you also said there's really only 3 companies that do this work.
There's really
so
only 3.
For the future, our pickings are limited.
Pretty limited. And there's actually a lot of buying going on right now. There's a corporation called Government Brands that has been buying some revaluation companies. So I'm not sure how that's going to work out. The company we had, Northeast Revaluation, was bought by Government Brands. So we'll see.
Dave, when you're doing your evaluation versus sales comparison, is that flexible enough to take into account the past year's insane housing market?
Well, good question, and I get asked that a lot. So, okay, it's an insane market right now. I've got lots of real estate friends, and they all, to the one, say it's just stupid right now. People are paying ridiculous prices. But our job is to reflect what the market's doing. That's what the market's doing. So if they're paying these crazy prices, that's what we have to reflect in your assessment. Some people do say, well, they're overpaying. Okay, what are they overpaying by? There's no information to say that someone overpaid their house by 10%, 20%. The only thing we can analyze is just the sale price itself.
Well, I guess I should put it another way. So the evaluation company evaluates your house at $200,000.
Mm-hmm.
6 months later, you sell it for $4.
Mm-hmm.
Solely due to, what the market's doing.
Sure.
It's not reality. So is the system, is
No.
the program able to recognize that? Otherwise, you're going to shift towards number 15.
Well, what happens is our revaluations now are once every 3 years, and your assessment's locked in for 3 years. So no matter what the market does, up, down, your assessment's the same. So if there's a huge appreciation the following year, and right now, our assessments were based on December 31st, 2020. The market still had crazy appreciation. The first quarter of 2021 over 20 was up something like 11%, just in that one quarter. So we're not adjusting assessments. You can't adjust assessments based on sale prices. That's,
But 3 years from now, when the price market maybe adjusts to a
Right.
normal state, then evaluations go down.
Right. So generally what we take a look at is generally just a one-year look back. So our next revaluation for 2023, we'll be looking at those sales of the most recent year.
Yep.
If there's not a lot of sales activity, we do extend that window back a little bit. But just like, when we had, a lot of appreciation back in '05 and '06, and then the market dropped out in '08, although our assessments are, again, once every 3 years, once we had a reval, we still reflected that down market because the market was still down. So people's assessments did go down. But, what people fail to understand sometimes is like, oh, my assessment went up, so my taxes are going to go up. Assessment went down, my taxes are going down. It's just a numbers game. It's always an offset.
But sometimes it does happen.
It does happen, and the reason for revaluations is, one, to reflect what the market's doing, but there's also shifts in the market. As you recall, last reval, ranch homes skyrocketed.
Why did I hear from all the ranchers?
Right. Certain ends of town may appreciate at a different rate than others, so there's a shift of burden. So that's why some people might see a 10% increase in their value. Other people might see a 40%.
Some may go down.
And some may go down. in this market, it's a little rare, but there might be some
Happening.
cases why. Some cases why is, people don't maintain the home, so the condition is going down. There are sometimes outside influences that may affect value. So we do analyze it all. So that's where we're at.
Thank you.
So-
Any other questions for Dave?
Thank you.
It was informative, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Have a good night.
I'm hoping the public here heard this too.
Good evening.
Solicitor Marcello, discussion and possible vote on proposed amendments to Chapter 14, Harbor Commission for consistency with Home Rule Charter.
So as you know, we will be looking at the Harbor Commission and the Coastal Waters Management, and as a result, we found that there was an inconsistency with the ordinance as compared to the Home Rule Charter. You asked me to draft, to change the ordinance to reflect the charter, and this is exactly what this amendment does. Please ignore the short-term rentals at the top. That was just a cut and paste that came across.
Yeah, we better ignore that
Yeah.
because people are afraid. Anyone, any questions for?
I'm sorry, so it's a 9-member board, 1 member shall be the planning, member of the planning board, and that's in the charter, and we're just reflecting that.
So what we really did was take the town council.
Take the town council off, but we left the special recreational motors, commercial, we left that in as well.
Well, in the charter was permissive, it wasn't a requirement for the
Correct.
special interests, so that reflects that change too.
Yes.
Any questions from the council?
So you just need to advertise it 3 weeks and have a public hearing on this
Let me just see if it,
Yeah.
is there any changes to this? Is everyone in agreement?
Are we going to have a problem, though, trying to get a planning board?
There is a planning board member interested.
Thank you.
Right,
Last I knew.
last I knew. So,
Yeah, he's got to fill out the.
yeah, he hasn't filled out. He hasn't filled out the form. I'm usually loud enough. He hasn't filled out the form yet, but I think there is going to be a volunteer from the planning board. Last we knew. All right, so now it doesn't say vote to go out for a public hearing.
You should.
We could just let's just have a quick set of public hearings. The clerk could just set a public hearing if you want to move forward. You don't have to take a vote on it. That's the ordinance requires a public hearing anyway.
Okay, so it
Yeah.
doesn't have to
Yeah.
reflect the agenda. All right, so go advertise, Joan.
Go forth and advertise.
Go forth and advertise.
I only have one question. Can I get rid of everything that's in red?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Especially the
How many
short-
weeks do we
short-term
have to?
3, I think.
3.
Oh, no, this
This is 21 days.
Which
in
I'd
advance
say it's
of the-
3 weeks.
No,
right?
hold on, this is how.
Only zoning,
No, zoning is required, it's a special.
only zoning requires 3 consecutive weeks. This is a non-zoning
That's right.
So it's 21
ordinance.
days.
So it's just 21 days in
notice, 21
advance of the
That's
public
right.
hearing.
That's right.
Yeah,
I only have to
yeah.
advertise it once.
Okay,
advertisement.
one advertisement,
One
okay,
advertisement,
all right.
always advertise
That's,
at least
that's,
21
okay.
days.
All right, yeah, all right. I knew it was the 21, I called it 3 weeks, but 21 days is 3 weeks.
Correct, 21 days in advance, isn't it?
Yeah, okay. All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Town Administrator, Police Pension Annual Update. There's no one here from the police.
No, but if you want, I can have Mr. Brown come in and speak to the council, but it's very good news. The pension portfolio for the police department has increased its contributions or its funded status. As of July 1st, 2020, it was at 70.6%. As of July 1st, 2021, it is at 90%.
Which is terrific.
So I will say it's based on a lot of the hard work of putting that money aside in the budget, but it's also an extremely beneficial year of, in the market.
Right.
I'm not so sure we're going to see the same results next year. But
Yes, but we can be happy about
we're
this.
very, very happy with the results of this as it stands now, and we might be making some minor adjustments as to the portfolio going forward. But it is well-balanced every quarter to ensure that we're not oversaturated in any of the particular markets. But if you want, I can have the consultant come in and kind of explain it to you.
Do you know how we compare to other police pensions in the state?
We're doing great.
Right now, we're better than most.
Yeah.
That's great.
Would anyone?
We're out of critical status for the last couple of years, and we're well-funded at 90%. And in the next 10 years, we'll be at 100% if we continue moving according to Chart 14 that's laid out in the portfolio. And obviously, a lot of it's going to be driven on market.
Incredible.
Yeah. But I will say, a lot of it is because of the fortitude of the council and the budget committees and the taxpayers to move forward to get us out of the massive hole that we were in. So, but we will, during the budget season, have recommendations to the council as to how we want to move forward.
That's great.
Does any of the council want the representative to come and speak to us, or is this okay?
This is good.
This is good, okay.
So I have one other minor announcement, if you don't mind.
Of course I don't.
There's a vaccine clinic on Saturday. Anybody that wants a vaccine, first shot, second shot, booster shot, Pfizer, Moderna, it's on our website. They contact either the town website, my office, or Bruce's fire department's website, or his office.
What's the lowest age?
Lowest age is 11, right?
Yeah, but for the booster, isn't there, don't you have to be high risk?
Not
Not anymore?
The boosters are really targeting the 65 and older,
Or healthcare, or anyone in high risk?
or if you're 18 and older, if you're in a high risk of where you work or where you live.
So the booster does have a restriction on it.
So with the booster, do you need to bring your vaccination card to prove you're like more than 6 months out?
It would be very helpful if you do.
And is this Moderna?
It's both.
Pfizer and Moderna.
And is the lowest age 11? Lowest age?
18?
No, it's a,
For the booster, it's
No, for the regular shot.
It's 11.
12. It's 12. The 5 to 11-year-olds, we're working on that, and that should be next month.
now,
Where's this happening, at the high school?
At the high school, from noon time to 3, and it will be extended if need be.
but you have to have an appointment.
What's the date? The 30th. This coming Saturday.
So the appointment's on a web-based format, and you can sign up.
Right. So
whatever-
Pete, I just want to make it clear, you just can't show up. You have to.
We might have some extra doses. We would certainly appreciate it if you do sign up ahead of time so we can plan for it, though.
I'm not getting it.
And the booster is recommended now?
Yeah, the booster is recommended for above 65 and high risk.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I don't like making
I don't
motion to
care.
adjourn.
It doesn't matter.
All right, just give it to anyone you want, okay? I know, I was waiting, You do realize that Mike beat you to it, but you didn't want it to happen.
I thought he was suggesting that I make the motion.
And I will give it to you, Joe.
Okay, motion's been made by Council Perry, like almost every meeting, and seconded by Councilor Vieira. And all those in favor?